Herman Webster Mudgett, also known as H.H. Holmes. I committed this and other crimes for the pleasure of killing my fellow beings to hear their cries for mercy. A quote by H.H. Holmes. I was born with the devil in me. I couldn't help the fact that I was a murderer, no more than a poet can help the inspiration to sing. And I was born with the evil one standing as my sponsor beside the bed where I was ushered into the world. He has been with me ever since. I have commenced to assume the form and features of the evil one himself. Another quote by H.H. Holmes. Herman Webster Mudgett was the first identified serial killer in the United States. He was related to American outlaw Jesse James, and he was committing his horrible crimes in America at the same time that Jack the Ripper was terrorizing London. Mudgett's personal bearing and style was suave, sophisticated, intelligent, and persuasive, and he used his talents relentlessly to seduce hundreds of gullible young women into having sex with him whenever he wanted it, and then signing over to him insurance policies, bank accounts, land deeds, and wills. Mudgett, better known as his most famous alias, Dr. H.H. Holmes, is the kind of criminal that has been romanticized in popular culture over the years, specifically because of his charming ways. However, Mudgett's appealing traits were a facade that concealed the face and deeds of a truly evil American monster. Herman Mudgett was born in 1861 in Gilmantown, New Hampshire. He had an abusive father who beat him on a regular basis and was disliked by the neighborhood children, who also beat him up on an equally regular basis. Mudgett wanted to be a doctor from an early age. He enjoyed performing a variety of surgeries on living animals, and he attended the University of Michigan Medical School. Many sources state that Mudgett was kicked out of the school for unusual activities, which included dragging a female corpse across the campus one night. Other sources, including the University of Michigan student magazine Michigan Today, state that Mudgett graduated from the school's medical program. After he left Michigan, he moved to Chicago to be a pharmacist, and it wasn't long before he was involved in an array of phony business deals as Dr. H.H. Holmes. Across the street from the pharmacy where he worked was a vacant lot. This lot would be the site of what would come to be called Holmes Castle, a bizarre building with rooms for sex, for killing, for dismembering, and for body disposal. Crime writer David Lohr, in an article titled The Terminator on the Holmes Castle. Most of the rooms had gas vents that could let off lethal or sleep-inducing gases. The vents could only be controlled from a closet in Holmes' bedroom. Many of the rooms were soundproof and could not be unlocked from inside. It was a 3-story building with shops on the first floor and a bizarre labyrinth of windowless rooms, false floors, secret passages, trapdoors, a well-equipped surgery area, as well as several instruments of torture, such as an elasticity determinator, a contraption he claimed could stretch experimental subjects to twice their normal length. Those who viewed it said it appeared to be a medieval torture rack. A few rooms were lined with asbestos, and the place was filled with doors that opened to brick walls, stairways to nowhere, an elevator without a shaft, and a shaft without an elevator. There was an airtight and soundproof vault, human-sized grease chutes leading from the living quarters to the cellar. The bedrooms had peepholes and were equipped with asphyxiating gas pipes connected to a control panel in Dr. Holmes' closet. The World's Fair was held in 1893 in Chicago, and, for Holmes, the multitude of naive visitors to his town made for easy pickings for his macabre endeavors. Holmes would lure women to his castle, seduce them, and then, while they were asleep, gas them and drop them into a room with no doors. Once they awakened, he would pump lethal nerve gas into the room and watch and listen to their screams as they died, often masturbating to orgasm as he did. Then he would dissect them, saving the parts that especially interested him. Holmes' murder career began when he killed a business partner in an insurance scam that went bad. Holmes made a deal with Ben Peitzel that Peitzel would die. Holmes would produce a phony corpse, and they would split the $10,000 life insurance proceeds. Instead of using a disfigured, stolen corpse, Holmes killed Peitzel and ran away with his wife and kids. When Peitzel's body was discovered, all trails led to Holmes, and he was charged with murder. Police decided to investigate the Holmes castle, and seasoned police veterans passed out when they discovered what was in the basement. Holmes had a huge acid vat filled with body parts, a furnace for on-the-spot cremations, tanks filled with human bones, and the remains of more than 200 bodies. Holmes was tried and convicted, and his legacy is that of someone who loved killing and torturing, and stealing and lying, a classic example of the utterly conscienceless personality that embraces pure evil. Holmes was hanged on May 7, 1896. His final statement was used to deny his crimes. In fact, he was still talking when they opened the trapdoor and dropped him. Holmes was afraid of grave robbers, so he left instructions that his coffin be filled with cement, which was honored. But as his pallbearers were carrying the extremely heavy casket to the grave, they dropped it. It ended up falling upside down in the grave, and they left it that way. One writer noted that Holmes spent eternity facing hell instead of heaven, which is, considering Holmes' history, only fitting.